volume. I couldn't hear you. You might not have good reception.
Possibly. Testing.
Yes, there you are. What's up?
Hold up. Wait a minute. Let me put some volume in it.
I hear you. I hear you now.
There you are. What's up?
Hey, man. All the way from Albuquerque.
Over here, man.
You're like in North New Mexico.
Yep, northern New Mexico.
Dang. So that's like high desert, man. It's high altitude desert.
Yeah, dude, it's desert out here. A little bit of water. We have 3 rivers that run through my little city and the community, so it's pretty nice to have water in different areas. I'm starting to take up fishing, and that's kind of like more than what I usually do, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, man, I was like, man, I wonder if there's anything on tonight. And I checked the Telegram group, and sure enough, I was a couple minutes behind, but you know.
Yeah, well, I was having technical difficulties, so we're actually just getting started right now.
Perfect, bro. Perfect. All
How's
right,
your
well,
journey
I'm on the way to getting
so
dinner. I
far?
don't know. What's that?
You said you were about to eat dinner?
Yeah, I don't know kind of what I'm going to eat. I'm thinking of what is what. Oh, nice. My sister just showed up, so. So, yeah. How was your day?
Bro, I mean, with the release of this new event, like I am just swamped in all kinds of like projects and activities. So just staying on discipline, staying on task, like every little moment. It's kind of like what I was going to talk about today was, just capitalizing on all of the moments and in all of the energy flow is what I was calling it. Because I see there's value in a lot of places that I just got to kind of capture those, like this talk. And using this talk, I use the stream to get clear on the idea and to stay connected with the audience, because the idea is the events that happen. Like it didn't used to be like this, but we're on event number 45 now. So 46 months ago, there was actually not events before then. So 45 plus 9 is 54. So 55 months ago, which is like almost 5 years ago, there were not monthly events. But since then, dang, has it been that long?
It's crazy.
I've been doing this thing for 55 months. So I created the monthly event with AZD. And so much of that was streaming and getting clear on the idea of what is the objective? What's the deliverable? What's the event? What are people going to get from it? How is that transmitted? Whatever else comes up with it. And I didn't know if any guys were going to be showing up to this. I mean, we got the ladies on, and then, you're here, and, you say your sister just arrived, so I don't know how much you want to dialogue, or I'll just say my piece. My piece is very business oriented.
Nice.
And, I think so much of what people are motivated to come to IMC and learn from AZD has to do with women, but so much of dealing with women is related to dealing with business, especially like if you're working for yourself. People that aren't working for themselves, it's kind of a different matrix because you're working for someone, you got to please some higher ups, and there's still hierarchy here, but it's a person in control of their own income to some degree or to all degrees. Like for me, it's 100%. Like I don't pull a paycheck from anybody. It's just what I put out is going to bring in some money. And since I've been at it for 55 months or whatever now, there is some momentum built up. So what I did last month is going to pay me a little bit this month. And some of the effort I do this month isn't going to pay off until next month or sometime in the future. There's a lot of guys that I talk to that are not buying right now, but some of them one day will. And, there's all kinds of skill and the wisdom of just knowing based on how they're talking, like what way is it going to go? And then staying open-minded, because just because that's what people in the past did, that doesn't mean what this next person is going to do. So it's really just generalities and kind of working with, communication and how familiar you are with it, how certain you are with what means, asking for clarification. And then the whole sales process, which it rests on some real value that there's actually to transfer. I mean, sales is all trickery and magic if you're not selling a legit product that's going to benefit people and you're just trying to like hoodwink people. Then you need a bunch of like manipulation skills. But if it's a legit product like this, like it genuinely benefits people, they genuinely get better every time, they keep coming back for more. Like a lot of the alumni, I don't have to sell. They know, they see it sells itself when you do it, if you do it. And I'm just here to remind people and to be an example of the evolution. Like you asked me how my day is going. Like there was a lot of evolution, changing my wake up time on weekends because of going out with these guys is an evolution. Like, because it's easier actually to be rigid about never changing it than it is to change it, but still make it. And so being adaptable with my schedule, there's lots of new things that are happening with TikTok. We got virality going on, 500,000 views on several videos are over 100,000 views and growing. And there's so many commenters and new audience going live to that. We had over 200 people live simultaneously yesterday and,
Wow.
Managing that. So how to capitalize on that, but also be giving value. And so I'm adapting my language, how I talk, how I think to really work with that situation and all of these situations, a bunch of situations. Like we have the next alpha beta party next month. So planning that sooner. What are we going to do with auditions and this pay-per-view stream, this live stream that we do of the event, which is, in my opinion, the greatest. Like there was a guy today, he dropped off of Midday Gospel, which is now called Alpha Academy, but he dropped out. But he didn't really officially sign up. Someone else signed him up who's on the program because he's a friend and he's like, you absolutely have to do this program. And he paid for the guy. But the guy tried it for like 2 or 3 days, didn't like it. He's a younger guy, like 21 maybe. And, there's so much I can assume about the situation. And then there's some that I don't know. And because I have had some dialogue with him, I did a 15-minute call with him when he joined. So I got to know him a little bit or know a little bit about his personality. And anyway, long story short, he says something to me at the end because he's like trying to dismiss it. And I'm just letting him know that, he's gonna fuck up. Like I already know these things about him, which I'm only 99% sure it doesn't have to go that way, but probably will. It's time tested. Like I said, I've been at it 55 months. I've been around longer than that. So I've seen 3 years prior to that, I saw guys coming and going and just not being on the business side of things, but I saw the students, some changed, some didn't change. New students at different events. Some students were repeating events. And so you got to feel for that. 1 second while I take a drink. And he says something to me. He sells solar, whatever that means when people say they sell solar, going around door knocking to sell solar panels to people. And he was like, he sells for the #1 company, blah, blah, blah. So if I ever need a sales job, let him know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, like I know there's sales jobs in the world that make more money than I do. Like I'm at the top of my industry. I don't know any pickup or dating coaches that are doing better than what we're doing here financially. They're on the same order. The amount of money that flows through here for that is, just in business sense, if you're just going to measure business in dollars, I don't know how you could measure it else in like how many students you have and, quality over quantity. And there's other metrics that go in there, but definitely dollars is something that we can all kind of agree on. That's going to be a measure of the success of a business. And so what this is going here, there's nobody that's doing way better. There are definitely training programs like Tony Robbins, is making millions of dollars. What's that guy's name? The guy that did ClickFunnels, Jordan something Brenson. I forget his name. The ClickFunnels guy, like $1 million training programs, so, but that's different. Those guys are still dorks. They're terrible with women. And so their home life, if they're married or if they're single, I mean, they're just miserable. Their balls are cut off and they're good at that skill. So what I'm saying is it would be possible to make more money doing something else, but I would still be seeking this. And it's not just, getting women. It's how to relate with yourself, really. Because if you're lost in your relationship with yourself, then whatever you learn about how to relate with women is going to be, on the surface of shifting sands. It's going to be a house built on shifting sands. You're not solid in where you're coming from. So I could make a ton of money and then I'll still be wavering and then I'll be even more taken advantage of. And there's nothing else that I would rather sell because there's no other product that I would be more about than what I'm about right now. Like it's so fulfilling to be so about what you do, what you act, what your hobby is, your passion, what you are studying yourself. It's like so congruent that, I mean, if I was all about toothpicks, if I invented toothpicks and it's such, people are like, you should sell real estate. No, I'm going to door to door sell toothpicks, but you like invented the toothpick or it's a new material and you're all about it. There's nothing else you'd rather sell. You'd rather make $1 million selling toothpicks than $100 million selling real estate. But this is way more than toothpicks, because all those guys, I mean, it's just going to go downhill for them. I know the future of those behaviors if you don't change or something about those futures. And where was I going with that? 55 events, so many events, blah, blah, blah. This next event. Yeah, but I wasn't just going to talk about this next event. Money flows, energy flows, staying tapped in with this thing. So it's so congruent. Like I stream to the audience, but then the audience is the same guys that I talk to about what's their plan of study with IMC. How do they want to improve on this thing? They see something like, if in any other industry, you saw the top real estate guy in the world, and he had this training program, and you were aspiring to be a real estate, to whatever degree. Maybe you wanted to be a full-time real estate agent. Maybe you just wanted some part-time residual income. Maybe you just want to run an Airbnb or something. Maybe, different things. Some people are going to be, whatever the different things are, like wholesale or flipping or whatever, renting, high-end real estate, metropolitan, suburban, ghetto area. I don't know. All kinds of different focuses. Abroad, apartment complexes, who knows? But there's so many things. But let's say the best real estate guru in the world, and he could help all of them. And so you got out of it what you put into it, because you could go all in and then, become full-time real estate. And it's going to be a struggle. It doesn't mean you're going to make money right away. But that's what you want to do, because that's full-time what you want to do. And other people, they just want to do it like part-time. And so that's what I talk about the guys with. Like, what's your plan to study here? What are your goals with this thing? If there was no lid on it, if mom or baby's mama or girlfriend or sister or coworkers or whatever didn't have a ceiling on what you wanted to do with this. Like, so I'm hanging out with a girl, and if she misbehaves around me, then I don't need to spend time with that person, because I'm totally in control of my life. There's no leverage on me at all. I don't live with the person. I mean, there are some things that would be lost if the person left or something, but that's important, because you want to be able to do that in all of your relationships, all your business, with your family. If your family becomes haters, you need to be able to cut ties with them. It's going to be tough if you live in the house with them. I myself went through the period of my mom and dad telling me to take posts off of Facebook. It's going to ruin your business. It's going to ruin your relationships. You can't be saying that stuff, blah, blah, blah. I had to block both my mom and my dad. And I stopped talking to them for some time, and then I would start talking to them again. I didn't unblock them. Eventually, now they're both unblocked, and they've liked and whatever. They can participate if they want to. They don't participate much anymore, but I freed myself of that chain. There's nothing they can hold over me with that. There's no leverage, no manipulation, no strings that are hooked into me. So I'm just going to quickly check. We're streaming to 5 platforms right now, by the way. So I just want to see how that's doing. Pretty good. Pretty good. Right on. Okay. Energy flows, business flows. So this is so integrated, because to practice this stuff, I started streaming. And then in streaming, there were guys that would show up to my streams, and those would be the guys I would talk to about their study path with IMC. And then those guys would show up to the classes. And then eventually they might become like staff members, like my TikTok staff or my sales staff or my IMC staff. A lot of those guys are in bases now. Like base 5 is 4 of my staff members: Damari, Zay, Prophet, and Josiah. Ambu got sponsored across the country, and now he's Oracle's assistant and lives at base 3. That was my staff member for 2.5 years that I was telling him, you got to do this. You know, some of the guys are no longer staff, but were staff, like Freedom Ranger, Alex Palacio. I don't know if there's anybody else. That's pretty much it for all the guys in bases that were my staff. And then there's other guys on staff that are, you know, going to. So it's a way to get more and more involved in the study path with what you're trying to accomplish here. So I would be talking, and I would be talking these things out on my streams, and then I'd connect with the guys, and then I would bring them in closer. And it was so synergistic because a lot of guys that I talk to, I'm the only person in IMC Nation that they're talking with. Like Albert DJ Side Effects, he was just on Telegram and he saw an announcement. He had a window of opportunity and he's like, let me tap in. And, you know, that's great. Like, because of doing the stream, he's able to show up. There's a lot of guys, like even Albert, let's say, a year ago, wasn't in communication with other IMC guys besides me. Maybe I think we were messaging. You know, some guys are content just kind of being around the edges, just kind of skirting the perimeter. But it takes a lot of confront. So you confront your character flaws, your inhibitions, your resistances. To some degree, sometimes we don't have awareness to know that we're confronting anything. We just feel bad, or we feel negative, or we feel angry. We feel that is resistance. That's what that is. And then they won't confront it, meaning they don't handle the situation at all. They just leave it, avoid it. And, you know, there's not much growth in that unless it's new for you. If it's like a new thing for you to get up and walk away from a situation, whereas you would normally like entangle yourself in it and, you know, just kind of go down that road where more and more of your life, like I see my life ticking away, seconds, minutes, and it's like, and if I was going to audit my day, like how many minutes or seconds I spend doing that, how many hours I spend doing that. You know, like people, they work for like 8 hours, but they didn't really work for 8 hours. They were on YouTube, they were on Instagram, they went to the bathroom, they took a lunch break, they took a water break, they stretched their legs, they, you know, they were playing Tetris. Like they did, how many of the 8 hours is 60 minutes? So that's like 480 minutes. And then it's however many seconds, like how many of those seconds were you really working? And if you just extend that to like your whole day, how many minutes, hours you were sleeping versus just laying in bed, trying to get to sleep or waiting to get up. You know, how many minutes are used on things that don't add value to the bottom line? And so if I was auditing my day, how many minutes am I spent in an argument with a girl or in an argument with anybody? And is that contributing to your bottom line? So you cut that out. You cut out your side of the argument and you cut out the people that are arguing. And if you can't, because you're working for somebody and they're in your work environment, then you get depressed. You get sad about that. You're like, I don't want to work there. And it's like, that's what happens when you work for someone else. And it's a big leap. It's not an easy transition from working for somebody to working for yourself. A lot of Legos got to be put in place for that. You got to start placing them. That's where you get the business mentorship here. Business mentorship will really help you with that. Because that's all it is. It's just you're paying for accelerated growth. Whereas you would figure out a lot of the things, given enough time, infinite time, you'll probably figure it all out. But some things come, you know, the mind and the social matrix, it's a very complex mosaic of ideas and words. And so there's no telling what order of realizations you're going to have. You'll grow in this way or that way. But you come here because there's something about this growth, this kind of expressiveness that, man, what kind of life lessons are you going to have to go through to be able to communicate yourself, especially with women? Man, you start making excuses for yourself where, you know, it's not about them. Like, I'm fine without women, or I don't need to, you know, I'm good. And it's just people have different level of reference for what they should experience. Like, let's say you take a guy who doesn't normally talk with women and you put him in a situation like he's visiting his friend in Vegas, and his friend, they're really good friends. So his friend's not going to leave him behind at all. He's going to include him in all activities. But his friend in Vegas is like a ladies' man, and he's just surrounded, like women are always coming over, bringing him food, and, you know, they asking him to go out with him that night, wherever he's going. And so he's just always followed by women just crashing on the living room. Like, just a bunch of his friends are women, you know, good looking women, and, you know, well connected, and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, this guy is thrown into a situation where he's not used to being around women, doesn't have dialogue with probably not many people, but definitely not many women. And then put him in a situation where he's around women like all day for 2 days or 3 days. It's going to be jarring. It'll be great. It'll be expanding. It'll be expansive, but he's also going to find situations that he's not prepared for. And it's going to catch him off guard a little bit. It's going to happen over and over in those 2 days. And depending on his state of mind, he may crash emotionally, or he may really feel exhilarated by the situation. There's a lot of variables in that, but it'll definitely be out of his reality. And likewise, if you took a guy that was used to that lifestyle, a guy in Vegas, and you put him on the farm somewhere like in northern New Mexico or something, and he had to be content with himself because there wasn't that much external stimulation. You weren't walking down the street and there's just girls everywhere, or just all the advertising, whatever's going on in Vegas. It's not what it is in like rural areas of America or whatever. And that person would see how much that they are distracted off of their center by all of the external glitter and glamour. And it would start to center them. But they would also come across a bunch of obstacles where they hadn't been centered before. So there's a lot going on inside that they're not aware of. They haven't looked at it. They haven't had enough, the senses haven't been turned inwards, enough self-reflective, whatever. And so what's my point here? What am I trying to say? I kind of lost my point on all of that. There was something about, the mind and whatever. Doesn't matter. Moving on. This thing about relationships, interactions, loyalty, communication, a certain sensitivity to know what to say, like this idea of calibrating your words, tweaking your vocabulary, tweaking your sound so that it can be received by other people, that they get the message. So you don't have to repeat yourself. That's a kind of karma. Imagine you say something, and have you ever been in a situation where you say something to somebody and then like a week or a month later, you say it to them again and you're like, I've already said this to this person. And then sometime later, it's like, you have to say it again. You're like, bro, I've already told you this. I've said this to you before. Have you ever been in the situation where you find yourself repeating yourself to someone, not just right then, like they didn't hear you. They're like, come again, and you say it again. But like later, days or weeks or months later, it's like you're saying the same situation again. Like, what am I saying that's not getting through to this person? How do I need to say it to get through to this person? There's a karma in that, because you get that if you learned how to say it so that they got it, and then you do say it so that they get it and they get it, do you get that then you would save yourself all the future times that you would have had to repeat yourself? That learning how to express yourself so that the people around you get it, including the people that are not yet around you, but how to pick up people, both men and women, how to connect with new business associates, prospects, and new women and new situations, because it's never, when you're getting women, you're not just approaching the woman you want and getting her. There's a whole gaming the environment. There's a lot of indirect influence. The woman is more influenced when she sees how well you navigate the environment, how well you're liked by other people. It's not just about her. So there's a lot going in on that. And if you don't change how you communicate, you're going to keep getting the same results. Just like when you had to repeat yourself to the person, you're not getting results because of your communication. Something now, yes, the other person, this and that, we could put the blame on them. They're not listening, blah, 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 blah. But then stop trying to interact with them. But if you're going to keep doing it, then take responsibility for your side of things. Because you can't control them. All you're doing is trying to influence them through your communication. So it's in your interest to be understood. Otherwise, you're wasting your time, because you're going to have to do it again. You're going to have to do it again, repeat it. So that's incredible, because what does it take to shift your communication so that you're understood? That's a whole internal karmic working, because you got all this mood and attitude and belief systems and whatever, wherever your language is coming from, where you think whatever you're saying is the right thing to say, it's the right way to say it, but it's not getting you what you want. So something's got to change inside, the thing that comes before language, the pre-language mental processes, where the language comes from, and all of the elements of language. Tonality is like a sound language. Body language is all like, language is not just the words, you know what I mean? It's the whole communication. So shifting inside so that the externalized communication changes, so that the effects are changed. And then in what direction do you want to change the effects? So somebody goes to the real estate coach so that their real estate effects are different. They go to the sales coach so their sales effects are different. They go to any coach. They go to the computer programming coach so that their computer programming effects are different. They go to the DJing coach so that the effects of their DJ communication is different. The effects are you affect people with your communication, your expression. You go to the speech coach, the singing coach, the whatever coach. So you go to a relationship coach and your effects are different. What's up, DJ?
Yeah, that's what I've noticed, just being around and being a part of it, like more discussions and being a part of like previous with the midday gospel, just realizing the lack in my communication and how I can proceed, even from like the first just interaction with ADZ, you know, Raj, it just interactions are a lot more smoother and better as we practice, you know. So it's cool. It's cool being around and listening and learning, taking that tech and utilizing it in different scenarios or situations.
What tech stands out to you? Any tech in particular?
Just kind of it all kind of still mixes because I'm learning. You know, I'm only in Origin, so it's different, but it's not but just knowing how valuable the communicating, putting what's in your mind out vocally, but also doing it in a frame or in a way that the person that you're speaking with can like take it in. You know, I even have a problem sometimes with like someone will say something and they say it goes in, I hear it, I understand it, but I don't understand it fully. So it's, you know, like that comprehension. So I'm working on that as well. But when you work on that, it becomes so much smoother when you're able to, I guess, just react sooner, react faster, carry a better conversation with individuals, you know?
Yeah. Coming up, showing up to like lectures, you know, it's an interesting kind of flow because it's a lot of times it's like monologue. It's one way, but you do hear in it, there's a lot of things in people's speech, obviously the words, the sound, the face and everything, but it's almost like this other thing, like we call it intention or something, or there's a lot of words. I don't know if any of them are right exactly. The vibe, the essence or the energy, the message that somebody's trying to communicate, because that's what it is. Somebody has an image in their head, and then they're using the sounds and gestures and words to try to transfer this image over into that brain. And so that you receive the image. So the words, you know, they say a picture's 1,000 words, like the words are almost never going to get it exactly right because it's the words are this transformation of a picture into some arbitrary symbols that have definitions or whatever. So, but there's always a way. You know, the artistry, the combinations of words are infinite, and then combine that with gestures and facial expressions, everything, you can get the message across. And so what you're hearing, first of all, when you show up to lectures, you're hearing people that are like certain, they have a kind of animation, they have a certainty about their information that they're sharing, and they're students of delivery, they're students of cool delivery and speech and everything. So they've become more aware of the smile, of the up and down swings in their voice, of their pace. And sometimes they are more aware in a kind of rigid, regimented way where they're thinking about their pace, they're thinking about their pitch, and you can tell they're thinking about what they're doing. Like when you see someone do like boxing and they're thinking about jab, jab, they can do the moves, but they look stiff. And do it enough times, and you do get a kind of unconscious competence with it, and it flows. And you'll always want to go back to basics. But what you're hearing when you hear the guys at Base One, or maybe some other IMC guys and AZD, of course, a lot of certainty about the information and the delivery, and that transfers because not only are you hearing it, but you're hearing us point it out, so you know what you're hearing. It's not going past you or over your head, and eventually you'll begin to realize, most likely, because I believe it's true, because it is what I've realized and observed, that you don't have other references for this in your life. That there's maybe a little bit over there, a little bit over there. Like you see the fitness guy, he's real certain when he talks about workouts and protein or whatever. But there's something off, like about his tonality. Or you see this other, whatever somebody has confidence, competence, certainty about a subject, you'll see glimmers of it. You won't hardly ever, if ever, see it about women. And you get more and more aware of this thing, because you will find that some guys, they sound confident about women, but after studying this stuff for a year or 2 or 10, you'll see that same person and see so many insecurities that you weren't observing before. You didn't know what you were looking at. It just looked like the shiny new thing. Like if you were just getting into buying gold or diamonds or something, you'd probably mistake some fakes for the real thing, because you don't know what you're looking at. It just looks basically the same thing, but it's not the same thing. And so you're hearing that reference of us. But now we're not all just lecturers, because the top guys, we live together. So this kind of the same certainty and expressiveness and confidence that you're seeing over stream, we're experiencing around each other. And so there's a lot that happens there, a lot of social dynamic of navigating that. And there's a lot of calibration, tweaking of oneself and one's own character. Because where does the communication come from? Your character, which is like your beliefs and your ideas about yourself and your self-image and all that stuff. All this stuff I said, the pre-language stuff. So we all calibrate that. We just had a camp here. So there were like 12 guys that came in town. There's another base that we go out with once or twice a week. There's a bunch of guys that we're interacting with in an intimate way. There's, money being exchanged. There's ideas and, some people are students and teachers of each other. There's a lot of dynamics going on between us, and we all grow together because it's in our interest for us all to grow together. And so you, as somebody, let's say you're in New Mexico and you're hearing from a distance the lectures, you're getting to hear the evolution in our talks, and that somewhat transfers. Just like you hear someone with a good rhythm, and they put your attention on the fact that they have a good rhythm, so that you start to measure what rhythm is in speech. And then you go and take it, and naturally it'll come out in your speech as you interact with people. And there's so many elements to our speech that naturally transfer. You can learn this stuff to a great extent at a distance, over video, over Zoom. Like, it is possible. That's why we charge for it, because it's legitimate. You can. Now, there is another level, of course, in person, like I'm saying, like when I live with these guys or I experience the guys coming to camp each month. So it's added on top of just interacting with people, because people are normal, they're sheep. Occasionally there's some higher level people, and discerning that. And it's not that everybody in IMC is a high level guy, but everybody in IMC, they see something in the tech that's very similar to what I see in the tech. It's like if you were running a simulation on a computer and you fast forward time like 100 time units or 1,000 time units to see how everything is affected. Does this variable go up? Does this variable go down? Like a common simulation, the most common simulation people know about is like weather. When they predict the weather for like 7-day forecast. How do they do that? That's a simulation. They put in some variables and they predict based on wind and water and heat and everything. Like, we think the weather's going to be like this tomorrow or the next day or the next day. That's a simulation. So if you put in this philosophy and this emphasis on the skills of communication and all that it brings and all it can do, and you look at this and you simulate it forward in your life, you're like, man, my life would be so much better if I did this stuff. Oh man, I want what I could do with this technology of the mind and imagination and female psychology and my own psychology. And so whatever else, I mean, there's so many subjects that we cover, but it's not about the subjects itself, because it's a lifestyle that those subjects contribute to. And that lifestyle is not the same for each person. You're seeing something from your end that inspires you about what you want for yourself. And as you listen to the talks, you'll naturally pick up how to talk, and it will create different effects in your life. And as you see the benefits of those effects, it becomes more and more real to you and more valuable to you, especially if you ever take a break. Then you'll see how the effects diminish. And then you'll start to, it's like you don't know what you have until you've lost it, kind of thing. And, you know, people go through that too. So that's why I recommend, I'm going to have to end the stream. That's why I recommend the Rise of Achilles is the training this month. Yeah, you got a question? I can answer a question. Or it looked like you had a question. Okay, you didn't. So Rise of Achilles is August 18th to 20th, but it's all month from now until then. So now is like whatever, July 24th or something. So we did the first talk today. There's already homework. I've already started it. And it's not like school homework. Honestly, I said it in the lecture. I was like, this is the kind of homework that we should have had in school. This would have totally developed people differently, especially guys. So that's great. It's on imcbase1.com. It's on discount right now until Thursday. And man, it's going to be great. It's really a 2-month training. So it's this month and next month, but each month will be different, probably cumulative. So it'll build on itself, and it culminates with an event in Las Vegas 2 months from now, which will be, you know, 3rd or 4th weekend in September. But this one's going to be great because it happens in San Jose. There's a party also in San Jose. There's a lot of experience. You gain a lot of experience. And you go back to your life situation and you're a step ahead. You got leverage. That's what this is. We're not shy about it. We know we got leverage in situations. Doesn't mean that you're a better soul than other people, but it does mean you start to take control of the evolution of your soul and how much your mind is taking away from that. We could say the soul is God and the mind is the devil. And they're at war with each other inside. But not really. The soul isn't really at war. It's just it's like a innocent bystander of your mind. And the mind has been hijacked by the super mind on the planet, the human controlled mind, which probably has a bunch of ET influence. So your mind was hijacked from a young age. And this is what we're talking about, like with communication. You know, that's where your communication comes from, is your mind. And so if you're not getting the results you want, that's coming from your mind. And so changing your mind is big work. It's good work. And it has lasting dividends. It just keeps paying off. So like this camp, you learn how to get women the right way, the indirect way, the way of a high value man that attracts them to your life. So you learn how to guide them through the process into whatever level of relationship that you want, which is a benefit to them. And it's a benefit to you to know how to do that. Those are some lasting skills that would be valuable time and time again. And it puts you on a course of winning on a planet where all the men are losing. That's what I have to say this time. Thank you, everybody, for showing up to this stream. If you liked it, then send me a message about it. And, you know, I recommend signing up as a guy, imcbase1.com, as a girl, ninthlimb.com.